Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to the ECC Architecture Club's last lecture for the semester. I'll just start with a couple of announcements while people are filing in to Zoom here. And we get it on the recording so people know. Of course, tonight we'll get into the introductions of our speakers. Rios Architecture. And one of the big announcements to make, aside from the lecture tonight, they were gracious enough to give us a tour of their office. And that's going to be next week, Friday, right, at 3:30. And so I'm going to put in the chat here, as well as it'll be on a flyer you'll get by the weekend. The flyer will have a Survey Monkey thing on it, so you can RSVP, and you need to do that by Wednesday evening, right? So we know what's going on there. The dual things happening there is not only will we see Rios' office, but since they are right at the metro line that takes us into downtown, for those that are interested, I'm going to take those on a tour into downtown LA. And the main target will be the Intercontinental Hotel. For a lot of these people, they've never been there. So it's like they've got to see that building, let alone not only the lobby, but we'll get up on the roof bar, and for those that aren't of age, we'll just say, hey, we're just looking, we're architecture students, but you got to see what it looks like up there to see what that looks like. And thus, Rios does have parking if you're not going to take the train to them, and then you could go from there on the train. Highly recommended to go from there on the train to downtown, because the last stop of that metro line is only a block or two from the Intercontinental Hotel. And then we come back. So the RSVP will ask, are you going to the tour or to both things? So look for that. The other big announcement is next Wednesday is the SoCal NOMAS Student Design Showcase. And we're hosting it here this year. So students that are NOMAS students will be presenting one of their projects and get an opportunity to get a critique from different design professionals. So even if you're not a NOMAS student, you should be coming to that. It'll be in the southwest corner where we have the nice exhibition space, and it gives you an opportunity to see students from both Cal Polys, Cal Baptist Riverside, SC, who am I leaving out? SciArc, Woodbury. So there'll be students from the different schools. So if you're interested in seeing what sort of work they do, you'll get to see some of their work and also get to meet some of the students and ask them, hey, what that's like. So, you know, make sure you attend that. And if you are a NOMA student, you should be one of the presenters for that. One of the things we're going to have on display is we've had two teams that were involved in Cal Poly Slow's Design Village. Have you guys heard about that? Robin, Sabina, and Preema? Slow does this competition every year that's design build on their campus, and they got a nice canyon-like site. And the students, you have to design a structure that you could inhabit for about, 3 days, so that you can sleep in it. So they sleep over, and in the middle day, they actually come around and judge it and get awards. So it really was set up for community colleges to be involved in that. They've been doing it over 40 years. So they let first and second year Cal Poly students do it, but it's mostly community colleges. And I'd say they'd have about 40 schools that get involved. So Elko, we made our last design studio around that project. It's a design build studio. So one of the projects they do is that competition. So those projects, you'll get a rare chance because the students that worked on that are re-erecting it here next to our building. So that'll be on display at the student design showcase and probably for a week or so. So another cool thing to see, and they'll probably be presenting it to the jurors to get feedback on that. So look for those things. Why is this thing just keep bothering me? Go away there. But that's, I think that's the main announcements for the remainder of the semester. Oh, we do have one other. We're going to have a logo competition so that we can do some branding here. As Rios does this professionally, branding, we're doing a competition amongst all the students. You'll get that information, but I mentioned it at the last club meeting. If you're interested in presenting an idea for a logo, the cash prize is $150, and your chance to win the logo we'll start to use not only on flyers like this moving forward, but also start to do t-shirts and different things that we'll roll out campus-wide. So that competition is going to be open from next week through June 30th. And by the time we get back in the fall, we'll probably already start to use what is on tap for that. So look for those main things. As I was telling them, Preema and Robin, I was telling Sabina, we're on our semesters, we end a little later. So we end the second week in June because we have a little short session, winter session between fall and spring. So the universities are out already, but we're still caged in. So that is the main stuff to present there. So I'm going to stop my share and roll us into our presentation. So, you know, without further ado, we have the privilege of getting not one, not two, but three presenters. And because Rios is a multidisciplinary practice, which is not as common as you would think, particularly some of the things that they're doing is not found in a lot of practices in that diversity. Sabina was nice enough to get a couple of other project managers in the office that have expertise in different areas to actually speak to those different things. So I'm going to let Sabina, which is one of the firm principals, give you a little more of an overview of the firm as well as her role in it. So take it away, Sabina.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ruben, for reaching out and inviting us to be the last lecture of this series. So we're going to go through a little bit of an overview of our firm. We are not a very loud firm, but we actually have done a lot of things inside LA. So we just kind of want to do like a quick round robin and that kind of show you, not a round robin, but a quick overview of all the projects that we have done all over town and just kind of give you a snapshot of what we do. Again, I'm Sabina Chang. I'm a studio director / principal at Rios. I head one of the studios that does a lot of commercial institutional work. And then I'll pass on to Robin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robin. I am trained as a landscape architect, and I'm working as a landscape architect at Rios. I'm a senior project designer. I actually also was trained as a city planner, and so have a bit of an urban design background within this. But I actually grew up in the San Fernando Valley area, but grew up coming down to Torrance all the time because my family was based in the area. So I do actually know the campus, which is pretty cool to be here and presenting. So super excited to share our work with you. I guess jumping over to Preema.
Hi, my name is Preema. I'm also a senior product designer. I'm also an architect at Rios. I work in our Move studio. You'll find out every studio has a fun little nickname. Ours is a little obvious. We're the mixed use urban studio. So we actually work at all scales. We work at kind of urban scales, architecture. I'm on a residential project right now, so it's a little bit of a mixed bag, and it's always fun to really engage with the variety of work that we have at our office.
Okay, so let's jump onto showing who we are, what we do, and what it's like to be working at our office. And you guys will probably join us on some day, hopefully.
All right, can you guys all see the screen? Perfect.
So we are Rios, and our whole design philosophy is that design is never without a story. We strongly believe that our architecture experience or even a cup conveys a story, and it's really important for the end user to feel the story, to understand why we build these buildings or design these landscape. So it's about going beyond just a object or something that you have to inhabit, but an amplified experience for a person who experience what we design. Next. So we're a multidisciplinary design house. My boss like to say we design from cups to cities. So you can see in the picture, we designed this new cup called Pico Cup, named after our famous Pico Boulevard. We also have a lino cup that is, we have sold over 1 million of them worldwide. So we take design seriously, from a little cup to like master planning of Universal City, things like that. So we do believe that every project deserves its own design. So if you look at Rios project across the board, they're all very unique. It's all catered and custom made for the specific client. So our projects are very diverse. Like, we don't specialize in one thing or another. We do civic, we do culture, we do commercial, we do hospitality, we do residential, we do interior, we do TI, we do show and core. As long as it's a design problem, we'll solve it with a design solution. That's how we approach it. So as we were saying, we're a multidisciplinary design house. So we do experiential design, architecture, landscape architecture, interior architecture, master planning. We also do product design, experience design, graphic design. So we have over 250 people who are really good at different things, and some of them are overlapped, some of them are specialized, but we really embrace having a lot of people who work together and having a very diverse population in background, in education, in the expertise, and bring them all together and create a bespoke solution for our customers. So we are a LA firm. We're born here in LA 30 plus years ago, but in recent years, we have realized that we could bring this LA optimism to other places. So we have offices in Shanghai, Singapore, Portland, Boulder, Austin, and London, but the headquarters is still in LA. This is where our mothership is. This is where our culture is all coming from. And then we're exuding this positivity to other places, and with the local taste, kind of a little, the local, how do I say it? Put a local spin on the LA optimism to bring it to different places. Okay, so now we're gonna go into some of the Rios projects. The first one we're gonna talk about is Road DTLA. So this is an adaptive reuse project and outside the arts district, like in the industrial part of downtown LA. So these used to be an old railroad station, and these used to be old warehouses, and they were just left and decrepit. So we turned it into a mall with a lot of like markers to show what the history is. You could see we did all the graphics here. It's very reminiscent of a old industrial warehouse style, but it's all full of like really hip restaurants and stores right now. And we put in the graphics you could see on the middle image. It's us about bringing joy and happiness when people inhabit the space. And we love colorful things. So we brought in the mural. I mean, we put a mural on the gradation wall to the bottom left corner. In the middle, we put it on the ground plane. And then the middle bottom, we put it around the frames. And on the right, it's a parking garage that we need to build in order to fit in all these other visitors coming to the space. But we want people to feel joyful and bring life to the place. So we planted a lot of plants at the edge of this garage. And then on the top of this garage is this amazing rooftop garden that you don't see in this view. And then it's like a little fun little surprise when you get up there. You have really good view around downtown. The next project is the Hollywood Bowl. It's our long-term client. We've been working with them for over 10 years. And we have done a new box office plaza for them, which is what you see here. We did all the branding, the text. So it's like a full service from us with our client. And we strongly believe that if you listen to the client, and it will become a long-term relationship, and you'll help them build and evolve over time. We both evolve together. So on the next slide, you will see some of the other shots of the same project. So we use a lot of lighting, a lot of shade, and to create this experience for the people who are coming and waiting before they go inside the bowl. And other venue that we did is Greek Theater. We updated it. We brought back a lot of the Greek motif or the Greek keys into this project. So it's just to give it a little more character. And then we also really cleaned up the architecture of this. There used to be piping and downspouts, all of them, and we ripped them all off and hide them inside the building to restore its original architecture and its glamour. We also, again, since we're a multidisciplinary design house, we cleaned up the architecture, we put in the landscape. We also did all the branding and experiential design. So we designed the map, we designed the font, we designed how we showcase the history of Greek theater into this project. The next project is the Xbox Plaza at LA Live. So again, we really care about this indoor-outdoor space. This is another plaza that we did. It used to be called the Nokia Plaza. Now it has changed its name, but it's about how to give it scale. Like it's such an iconic proscenium to a basketball game or conference or something. So we created all these like big modern day totem poles to kind of create this like grand entrance to this space while keeping a lot of smaller scale planting and landscape, and just create this really dynamic, really could be pretty loud, could be a pretty quiet space for people to enjoy during a big game day or as a public plaza during a quiet day. So now we're going a little bit more into architecture. This is the San Francisco Flower Mart that we're designing right now. It's a 2.3 million square foot project. It's the second biggest project in the history of San Francisco. So this consists of a big food hall on the ground floor. So we were able to convince, our client came with us and like, we want to be all offices and we're gonna lease it to a tech tenant. So it just give me as much square footage as I can. But then we were able to work with the client and explain to the client why it's important to be opened up to the neighborhood. So we convinced them to lift up that glass building in the front and slip in a food hall with open doors so people could go through, and we're able to recreate this mid-block connection in the middle as a little walking street, because in San Francisco, there's a lot of little mid-block shortcuts around all the properties. So we were able to bring it back and turn it into retail and reactivate all these little shortcuts that echoes the history of this area. So this is a section and a floor plan. And then the next page is the pretty images that we have for this project. You can see we're very focused on the human experience, the active life, and bringing that into all our projects, even though all of them look very different. And then the next project is about interior improvement. So this one, we did a interior design for the Lawrence Ellison Institute for Transformative Medicine at USC. So, so for this project, instead of being loud and active and about sports, this is all about very meditational, very zen space. So we brought in a lot of wood, and because we think plants has such an important role in helping people to feel better, we brought them in all over the space. We integrated with art, with landscape. So it feels very peaceful in there, and we want people to come in and feel like they could meditate in here. We create a different scale spaces all over. There's indoor, outdoor spaces. There are meditation area. There are area that have art. There are area where people could talk to the doctors and things like that. Next. Yeah, we're going pretty fast. So this is one of the new projects they're working on that I'm super excited about. So this is a community center for Watts. This is super brand new. We haven't even published it yet. But right now Watts doesn't have, they have a couple of sports field, but they doesn't really have like a central gathering space. So the Housing Authority of Los Angeles had an open RFP, and then our client Prime Store, who's a developer, and us come in and presented our qualifications, and they were luckily selected. So we were engaged with the local community for like a year-long outreach to kind of talk through what they want, and we showed them different images and different program. And we finally, after almost a year's worth of time, we come down with a program, what they want, what the community needs, versus us just like imposing what they need. And then from that program, we went on to a schematic design and designed something. We designed 3 schemes with them, which we had this public outreach cookout where people could come and join and put like little stickers, what they like, what they don't like, and then finally narrowed down to this one scheme. It's the idea of this project is that it has a very big welcoming porch, has a big canopy, so people could feel like they're in again, another indoor outdoor field coming into here. There's swimming pools, there's classroom, there's theaters, there's auditorium. It has a lot of different programs all under one roof where people, no matter from which corner of Watts, you're welcome here. So that's a very meaningful project that we're working on right now. Okay, I need to go faster. We have a lot of projects to show. Horton Plaza. Robert, you want to take over? I've been speaking a lot.
Yeah, no problem. Horton Plaza is based in San Diego. It's I don't know if anyone's been here within downtown San Diego, but it's basically adjacent to the Gaslamp district. It is a pretty iconic 1980s outdoor mall that's actually being revitalized and redeveloped to actually have a combination of ground floor or multi-floor retail and actually creative office spaces on top. This was a reimagining of sort of the old mall archetype and trying to take what was there and the special qualities of this pretty iconic site, but to actually open it up both in terms of it used to sort of be planned as a labyrinth of some sorts to kind of get lost within the mall. This is sort of opening up the project to the community and to the neighboring surrounding the neighborhoods. At the north end of the project, there's an existing plaza, Horton Plaza Park, that was actually recently remade, but interestingly, they planned it to have lots of event spaces. It wasn't necessarily programmed aligned with the design. And so we actually are also going in and redesigning the park to have it be much more of rather than a sort of outdoor event space, to retool it to be more of a community gathering space. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, breaking up some of the hard surfaces to allow for more of the recreational neighborhood amenities, like, anything from picnics to a sort of food hall that will be right next door to serve the local community. You can see that there's some of the iconic, that triangle in the top left picture is known as the piazza within the space. We've tried to elevate the existing qualities that make this place really special, but also allow for a greater connectivity between the indoor and outdoor spaces. Again, Rios really tries to amplify that connection, hence this idea of being very comprehensive and immersive within the spaces themselves. The next project that we're going to highlight is called One Beverly Hills. Rios, obviously being an architecture house, our landscape architecture team both works within with the Rios architects, but sometimes we'll actually work with outside architects as well. So for this project, we've actually been partnered with Foster and Partners based out of London to work on this pretty massive and exciting plan to reimagine basically the core of Beverly Hills, where the Beverly Hilton is located, and the Waldorf hotel that's within the area, and to reimagine the space with a sort of showcase of what California's landscapes can be. So in many ways, we're bringing in the local landscape into the heart of Beverly Hills and showcasing this to be a botanical garden right in the middle of the city itself. There's a lot of really interesting nuances with building on structure that's happening here with these very massive gardens and public spaces that are intertwined within these the new hotel developments, plus some luxury apartment buildings also going in place. The next project, oh, here's another close-up picture of the garden. The next project is Grand Park. I'm not sure if any of you have visited before. If not, I fully recommend it. Maybe when you guys go on your downtown tour of going through by the Intercontinental, you might be able to pass by a Grand Park. Originally, this was basically a bunch of parking lots and some of the courtyards between federal buildings. Rios came in almost 10 years ago to help reimagine the space and turn it into the park for everyone. Basically, going down from up on Grand Avenue, coming down to Broadway, coming down, I think, to Main Street, basically, Rios came in and populated the space with new activities and programs, everything from new pavilions, playgrounds, gathering spaces for large picnics. We know that the lawns themselves are used from everything from celebration areas to areas of protest. Interestingly, there was also a recent project that Rios has kind of come back to a Grand Park and sort of is now overlaying a project on top of it to add a little more nuance that basically the county is wanting to partner with local artists and trying to highlight and bring some of the local culture and showcase it within the park itself. Again, trying to be the park for everyone. Rios was part of a lot of the signage, landscape architecture, and such. Sorry, we're going to jump to the next project, is Palm Springs Park. This is a really great project. We recently won actually a national award for the project, in which the city of Palm Springs was looking to revamp their downtown core. And basically, our team came together and wanted to draw inspiration from the local environs themselves. And so if you've been to the Palm Springs area, there are these gorgeous rock formations that were inspiration for all of the form of the water features. There's a police outpost within the area, a restroom structure within there that our architects also were part of building. Plus, we wanted to reimagine what an urban oasis would be like. The plant materials are all sourced from and inspired from the local flora. Interestingly, rather than a grove of sort of typical trees, we actually were able to take the palms within the canyons and lay them out in such a way to provide enough shade within the area in the very hot Palm Springs. In addition, we also helped design these structured pavilions for events within the space. It's also an interactive water feature that is sort of a play space for children to come through, but is also the water itself is recirculating, but also helps cool the environs. Again, a lot of this project was based on the idea of taking the local context and designing for comfort within the space itself. And then the final project I think that we're going to go over is the Lynn Wyatt Square for Performing Arts. This project's actually based in downtown Houston. We were part of a international competition and were able to win this project based on a really compelling initial design that basically wanted to take the surrounding context, which is basically a whole bunch of performing arts centers, theaters, other sort of cultural arts institutions, and use this plaza to be the urban choreography of drawing everyone together and having a communal meeting space. Our team, this is actually a very exciting project because it's being built right now, and they had their soft opening not too long ago, but you can see in the bottom left corner, the restaurant building, flagship building that's there has this intricate, beautiful sloping roof line that we have been so painstakingly trying to make sure that the design intent is stayed within the project. And it's finishing up right now as we speak. And so what you see in these renders is actually, it's pretty impressive to see in real life. It's stayed true to a lot of the original design intent. So it's a very exciting project. Now I'm actually going to go into a little bit more about the physical space in which we work and how we go about our design process at Rios itself. Super excited that hopefully most of you will be able to actually visit our physical office over in Leimert Park area. You'll see the bright orange or bright yellow door that you'll enter into. Basically, we are within this very large former warehouse space and have a really exciting, frenetic, inspiring space in which we all work together. There are no offices, there are no closed off clusters. Everything is basically open floor. And the idea is that we are going to be running into each other and sort of inspired by what everyone else is doing within the space. We, as you go to the next slide, you'll walk in and you'll see art, color, objects, materials, people, everything is all over the place. And the idea is that like our physical space, we bring this sort of energy and creativity to the design process that we work on. The mural on the top right is actually from local artist Aaron Kai, who we then also had collaborations with some of our cup designs within that Sabina had talked about earlier. We have a pretty extensive side space that's also a materials library. And in addition to that, which I'm really excited, the next slide, perfect, thank you, Preema, is basically we have a pretty decked out workshop space that we as designers need to play with physical form. And so we're always constantly testing and iterating everything from buildings to models of seating to the cups themselves. And so we have a really fantastic workshop and lab with 3D printers, a wonderful CNC router, laser cutters, everything that you can think of, we have in that shop. And so when you come into the office itself, you'll see the beautiful models that have been made within the office itself, but then you'll also learn that part of designing is making. And that's something that we really try to push within Rios itself, that in order to design, you have to know how it's put together. And so that whole process gets pulled into our design process, which in our next slide, you can see in the diagram at the top, this is a fun picture of basically our creative process, that from the very start of a project till when it's actually physically being built, there's lots of time in which we're iterating and working together in a multidisciplinary fashion within our office and with other team members outside our office, that we collaborate and check in and sort of have feedback loops to make sure that we're always going towards the goal of our original story that we come up with at the very beginning. We think of all the details, everything from the materiality, the finishes, but also keeping in mind the larger gestures and the larger vision within the projects themselves. And so our office, we do everything from front end concept design to actually getting the projects built as well. And I'm going to pass it over to Preema to talk a little bit more about really the most valuable thing about Rios, the people.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. As Robin said, we are a culture of makers, and kind of as Sabina introduced, we have so many disciplines under one roof. It's a really exciting environment to be at, because you'll be sitting in the office and the person working next to you is a graphic designer, or the person working on your other side is a landscape architect and working on very, very different things than what you're working on. And so there's always this room to grow and room to learn, and really engaging a group of people that we're surrounded by. We are, as it says, we're problem solvers, we're innovators, we're creative thinkers. And I think one of the really special things about Rios is that we're all under one roof, more of a digital roof nowadays, but we're all under one roof, where we actually approach our office as a design project. We're on a quest to never stop designing ourselves as well. And in this constant level of R&D, in a way, where we're always innovating ourselves, we're always trying to see how we can do things better, how we can do things more effectively, how we can keep pushing the boundaries, whether it's design or execution or even collaborating with each other. And that's kind of one of the really special things about us, is that we're a little less structured in comparison to some other offices in terms of, how we're organized. But what that allows us is more opportunities. And we have a lot of employee-led efforts that really start to affect change and build the culture within the office. And there's space for that. So one of our big pushes is social impact. This is an initiative that was an employee-led initiative that started in 2020, where we really asked ourselves, how do we do more with our position in this industry? How do we challenge ourselves to really use our talents and use our position and use our connections to do more for ourselves and for our community? So it really starts inward in a way, that we really reflected on our own personal, our education, our growth as individuals and as a company. We were certified with the JUST label, which really assesses many different aspects of our company and gives us a standard that we want to maintain as we continue to grow as a company. And these are a lot of what you're seeing, these are initiative efforts that have been taking place across the last several years, where we're really engaging with students, we're engaging with community projects, developing installation projects for local events. We have an open house where we're inviting the community in and really letting people understand who we are and how we work. And that's really built a lot of amazing relationships in our Lambert Park community directly that we've been able to leverage and help them work on pro bono projects, for example. And then this next slide, this is all just from last week, actually. We had a big, very busy week last week where we had everybody from all those offices that Sabina talked about fly in to LA. So we're all together. So it was a little overwhelming socially, but it was really great to see everybody and actually have everybody under one physical roof as well. And so these are some images just from last week that were just really fun events that we did that help us really challenge ourselves to grow both internally and externally. So on the top left, we did this mega shadow day, which we just went big. And we had a lot of student groups come in and actually build a city in the middle of our office out of cardboard, out of whatever materials they could find, and really just go wild and ideate on what it means to create an urban space. And I think I'd say it's maybe around quarter scale, but it was a little loose. And then, you know, we had our employees from our other offices do some research and really explore what it means to be in these other cities. We have a program that we've developed in our office called That History, where we've really reflected, researched, and expanded and understood what these unheard histories of the cities are, these communities that don't usually have the forefront of the narrative within these cities, and really highlighting it so that we understand a full history, but it's not just one version of who has the most power in a certain history or a certain historical timeline. And on the top right is actually really fun because there's a local organization called Huma House just down the street from us in downtown Lambert Park. And on the top is a render of a pro bono project that we did earlier this year. It was a really short, quick one where they're basically trying to create a community space in an existing building that wasn't really used. And so we have a rendering of it at the top, and then the photo just over to the right with everybody looking a little silly is one of our volunteer activities from last week, where our Rios team members, and it's a mix of our creative directors, our designers, basically everyone at different levels, they got to go out there and actually execute the project that we designed and paint the murals on the wall. So it was a really fun way to kind of be at the front end and the back end of really engaging with the community. And then, you know, another aspect is our climate responsibility. This is something that we all know within our industry is important and vital, and every office is really engaging in it in a different way. And within our office, you know, we have people within our office, Sabina is part of this team, where they said, well, we really need to focus on this. And they created their own committee and they said, we need to focus on this. We need to figure out how do we really understand our responsibility and figure out our toolkit to engage and really bring it into our projects and how we work and what we understand as our responsibility, whether we're doing spaces, buildings, landscapes. So this is another aspect where, you know, an employee-led opportunity, employee-led initiative is really driving change within our company, and then we all grow and become uplifted because of it. And then our last slide is really about expanding on that and looking towards our future. We are known for these really exciting spaces. We're known for these really engaging public spaces. And as Robin said, we don't really have one style. We don't have one image that defines us as a company. We really engage with each space and each context so differently that it's really the experience that you may be in a Rios project and you might not know it, but you'll feel good about it. And that's kind of this through line that kind of brings all our projects together. And with this, you know, our efforts in understanding our social impact, our environment, as we expand more globally, we're really starting to fold that into how we work, how we're influenced, and really take a nuanced approach to all of that. That's all.
Yeah, so Ruben, instead of going deep, we decided to kind of bring your students into what it's like to work in an office, especially like our office, what it's like. So we kind of turned it around a little bit than what you typically see. Hopefully that's okay.
Oh, yeah, that was wonderful. That was a great presentation. And I already saw a couple of questions, or a couple of people came up with a question, and I got a few. I saw a number of projects there that I'm like, oh, I know that project. Love it a lot. Didn't know you guys did it. I live at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, you
That's
did.
the
So
biggest
it's a
thing.
long-term, we didn't do the original stuff, but from now on, like we're engaged on a long-term 25-year plan as they evolve and as people come in differently with different modes of transportation, how do we adapt to it? We did the front plaza that you saw there. We also just
Right.
recently finished the artist loft where the green rooms are for the artists to relax before they go on stage. So it bits and pieces of it, making it better
Yeah.
bit by bit.
But I was noticing the plaza, because I like that fresh update there. So I do like that, and I saw the Greek, because I've been there to see that nice work. And what was the other project I know I saw? Oh, of course,
Nokia Plaza?
Nokia, the Xbox Plaza.
Yeah.
One question I had on the Xbox Plaza, those kind of pillars that are like space frame pillars, did you guys do that? Is that
Yes,
new?
we did that. It's a while ago, but yes, we did that.
Yeah, and
We
that
wanted
kind
to plant trees, but then we just thought about like it's such an urban edge at that point, and with the scale, we wanted really tall lights and like really shine the light on it. So if there's have like a pre-function show or something, kind of bring the show from inside the stages to outside to the plaza so everyone can see it. So that's kind of why we have these like big face frame light fixtures kind of like shining the spotlights onto the plaza to the general public.
And it
is that
becomes an
what-
icon. It becomes a brand. You know you're there because you see these towers surrounding you, and it's recognizable everywhere as a really important civic center of downtown.
Right, so that was a AEG, basically the client gave you programmatically the task to come up with something that would do that?
We work with the client and the architect. We were basically urban design / landscape designer for that project. So we work with we work with the architect, work with the client, like what do we need for a sports arena? And we throw out ideas, and then this is where we come with together.
And in the San Francisco marketplace, the black box, if you will, that was on the roof, what is that programmatically?
It's so so the glass box is the office space, and then the black box is the penthouse restaurant. So it's a shell and core. So we were designing as a restaurant, but then if the tenant wants to kind of just pay the lease and lease it out, they could turn it into CEO's office or something. But it's planned as a rooftop restaurant where people could go from the bottom food hall to all the way to the top and have a view of the neighborhood. That's the
Oh,
design intent.
I gotta get there.
Well, it's slightly on pause right now with the San Francisco current economic situation.
Okay, okay.
But our client owns the land and something's gonna happen. But right now we submitted for permit, but it might slow down a little bit right now.
So slow down, okay. And another, what's the ETA? Where is it in development? Is that community space for Watts? Where is that in the scheme of development?
We just finished schematic design. We're getting pricing right now. So that's where we are.
Okay, well, we're gonna stay tuned on that one. I think that's gonna be amazing for people to see that, not only when it's done, but under construction. That could be a really exciting project to see through its evolution of building. I want to see that.
They're very excited about that one too.
tell the students all the time, get your hard hat, buy your hard hat, throw it in the trunk, have it ready to go. And you can get on some job sites, you'd be surprised. Closed toe shoes, hard hat, and a sympathetic ear, and you'll get a foreman to say, sure, come on, let's take you around there. So keep that in mind. And one of the students asked, because your renderings were really noteworthy, of course, they're not, my goodness, they're not the typical, what could we say, Lumion.
They are Lumion. They are Lumion.
They're dreamy. They're really, really nicely done. They have a real soft touch to them.
Well, we touch it up afterwards.
So that was the question. One of the students asked, what are you using for your renderings? So if you could kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I could.
That process happened.
I could talk a little bit about that from the landscape perspective, because no matter how well you can render something, you'll never get to the true dynamic nature of plants, right, within spaces. And you can read that when you see that in renderings a lot of times. And so with a lot of the renders that we put through for projects, we will export things from Lumion, and then we'll do another layer of work with Photoshop on top of it to actually get at the true plant quality of what we're actually designing to put into the space, to actually give it its true character of what it will feel like. Depending on the project, some are more painstakingly done and more accurate than others. But I'll say a lot of the renders that we showed, pretty photorealistic, but we also will have projects that have renderings that are much more evocative of a mood or an experience in of itself, which I feel like can lend itself really well for projects to give the essence of the space when you're still in sort of concept design, trying to work through a lot of the detailing itself.
Yeah, and part of how we're always evolving is we're evolving our tools always with what's out there, with what's most effective. And, we'll find that, like Robin said, in certain projects, we want to evoke something different, and it may take a different tool, or you're at a different stage of a project, and maybe a sketch is more evocative than something photorealistic because it gets at the true intent. So we're always really trying to figure out what we want to communicate and what's the best vessel to really send that message. And then we also have a whole team really dedicated to visualization and really upping our game. And we're getting into twin motion, we're getting into other tools that are expanding our capabilities in-house. And it's really, really at the heart of how do we communicate our design? How do we send that message most effectively?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You could see it in the work there. It has a real romantic feel to it. So any other questions in the classroom that's here? And of course, for those that are logged in, if you have a question, put it in the chat for us, and I will ask it. Yeah. Okay, I got one coming up right here. Go ahead, just speak up loud, but the speaker's out there. Go ahead. Okay.
So one of the projects I saw when you were using nature in your projects, that's something I don't really see that often. I mean, in architecture in general, yeah, I see different shapes in buildings, different scales, but I very rarely see you're putting nature into that. So how, I mean, just like a general question, how exactly do you come up with this like creativity? Like, how do you build up to it to where it just becomes a final product, and when you see it, you're just amazed, and like, I mean, how do you exactly just come up with that? I mean, that is just like, to me, that is just unexpected, right? That's just surprising.
You wanna?
No, go ahead, Robin.
Oh, great. Okay.
You want me to do it? I can do it too.
No, I can do. I'll take an initial stab. Yeah. So that's a really great question, and you're trying to get at the heart of like what makes a design memorable and how do you carry that through the design process? Because so much of what happens in design is pretty nitty gritty, can be kind of demoralizing, to be quite honest, over time, because it gets into things like, budgets and, many different stakeholders, just a lot of complications. And so it's like, how do you execute a project with like a grand idea and have it carry through the entire time? And I think a couple of things that we do at this office, and I think we try to do it very well, is that when we start a project, we come at it with a really strong concept that is the guidepost that will stand true throughout the entire process. You might think of that as like the partie or what have you, that you might learn in school, but in many ways, it's basically a vision that you can communicate within your team internally as you do the design, but to the client as well, and to different stakeholders and community groups and what have you. And as we build that story together, it becomes so intrinsic to the project that if you were to take away something from that, it basically ruins the project. And so you meld in a lot of the design moves into the essence of what you're trying to create with the project. The other thing I will add within this is that at Rios, we have these tenets that we try to aspire to in the projects that we do. We talked about how we work on so many diverse types of projects, everything from built form to large scale regional systems, to graphic design, to physical cups, things like that. There's so many different scales, but we try to aspire to hit at certain overall experiential qualities within these objects and spaces and things like that. I think we talked about ideas of joy and optimism and ideas of resiliency. These are tenets that we try to check ourselves when we're coming up with the original concepts and hold to that and make sure that we're holding true. And so within these projects, a lot of times, if we can convince the entire team of that journey, that roadmap, that's how we hold to those creative ideas.
And I wanted
Go
to
ahead.
add that our design is not top down. It's not like a partner just drew something and napkin sketch and then pen down to us. The team gets together and idea together. Like we could, all three of us could be in a room, and like Robin will have like urban design or landscape idea, like Preema will bring her past experience into that, and I'll say something, and then it's all sitting down together and come up with that concept together. So by having a diverse group of people with, again, diverse experience, diverse backgrounds, you bring them together, and then we have all these experience that drive us to have different designs, different point of view, to kind of come up what's best for the project. It's not designed by committee, but it's bringing everyone's idea and come up with a solution together. It's what makes us pretty special. Like, at least I think that way.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, because it is kind of interesting for students to start to think of things that way. And correct me if I'm misspeaking, but Rios was kind of founded on landscape architecture, right?
So Mark Rios
Landscape.
has backgrounds. He went to USC, and then he went to Harvard and got his dual master's degree in architecture and landscape architecture. So from the get-go, we are a multidisciplinary design firm. But as any small firm started, it's smaller projects, so it's more landscape, hardscape, plaza. Like the idea is like, what would melt the two together? So we started with a lot of plaza design that seems like landscape, and then we also did a lot of like smaller houses for friends and family, and kind of grew into now almost 300 people big, and doing all kinds of scale projects.
So
I think that's
I would tell students to kind of start from the get-go. As you hear here, they have a lot of stakeholders and expertise involved. And when you're in school and early on, you don't have a lot of stakeholders. It's kind of a solo thing, but you really should reach out to those that have experience in different fields. Because I always tell people that are getting degrees in building architecture, what happens is we design the buildings, and the space in between the buildings is just the space in between the buildings. There's not a cohesive experience being created because we're so focused on our focus that it just becomes leftover space instead of the whole experience. So with that being said, you know, reach out to those that have experience in that, which is what a lot of us do professionally when we don't have that experience, to make sure it's not leftover stuff, that you're bringing everything to the table. So to your question, Max, it's when you're designing these spaces, you know, you have everything to design. So reach out to those things and make sure they're part of it. And they won't be the space in between, but it'll be part of it. So we have like environmental technology here at the school. You could even ask some of the classmates that are in these other programs, because they're going to look at things differently from you.
I
And
will add, like,
draw from that.
when, even though I'm an architect, my passion is actually the space between buildings. And, you know, I think that just because you're an architecture school or a licensed architect or a licensed landscape architect doesn't mean you have to be one thing. And I think that's something that I learned after school mostly, that like when you're in school, it really is like really focusing on what you need to know what you're doing as you get out of school. And I think once you get into the field and once you start interacting with offices like us, like Rios, with other, you know, design offices, anywhere really, you start to realize that the lines blur quite a bit, and that design is design. And you can have a focus, you could have a specialty, but that you shouldn't necessarily limit yourself if you don't want to. You can focus on things, but you can be interested in everything. And the tools you learn in school just give you the foundations to really explore that even more in the professional world.
Yes, I agree. And I'll certainly be using Robin's soundbite there all the time. You know, all the schools push concept, but you don't understand why the concept is that thread. It's holding a project together and also driving you forward. So you're doing everything to reinforce that, and it shows when you do that. So that kind of also answers Max's question of how it all comes together. Concept, keep that. Well, are there any other questions that we have here out there? Well, you know, guys, I want to thank you again for doing this, taking your time to show us some of the things you're doing. I'm excited. I knew some of these projects, didn't know it was a Rios project. So it's really, really great.
It's intentional. We want, when people see our projects, we want to see it's a Greek theater, it's a Hollywood, it's not a real design. We put ourselves last and put our clients front. So that's why we thought it would be fun to kind of show you like a little bit of every project that we kind of sprinkled around town and kind of do it differently than, well, we can't tell what you showed last month with like your projects, so we do it the other way.
Oh, and one other question I had was on the Grand Park project. Where is that? I saw it's like in front of that courthouse, right?
It's in front of
Yeah.
City Hall.
It's basically coming from City Hall, working up towards Grand Avenue.
And
So-
Music Center Plaza is also our project. So
And that's at the top, at the very top.
Yeah, between the Dorothy Chandler and the Amundsen and the Mark Taper Forum, that raised plaza. It's got a fountain, these really
Mhm.
cool screens, and there's these pavilion restaurants kind of anchoring that space. That is also one of our projects that we worked on. We designed it, I don't know, 20 years ago, but it never
It
got
took us 20
built.
years to do
And
that.
then we redesigned it, and now it's a really great civic space
Yeah,
that
that
connects
was-
straight down to Grand Park.
Yeah, that one specifically, like we work with the music center because it's so expensive to go see an opera or like a musical. Like the music center, basically, we need to do something for the public. So we work with them to create a plaza where they could bring a dance show, or like they could do opera on the plaza to kind of open up these historically more highfalutin, more like upscale, high-end exclusive things open back to the public. So we love doing open public spaces like that.
That-
We've got a baby architect on the
cool.
call.
Hey, I see Nicole waving there. You know, she had any questions. Nicole Goodman, you got any questions? Do you have any
Just saying hi. I'm
plans?
just saying hi to the baby.
Oh.
Thank you for the appearance.
Do you guys have a plan of the Grand Park project that you could show? If not now, we'll take a look when we come to the office.
Yeah, we don't have one handy, but we have a really great model in the
Yeah.
office, actually.
Oh, okay, that'll be great to see. It's like I haven't gotten downtown because I know I have not seen that yet.
Yeah, it's more north by City Hall, just north of Disney Concert Hall.
Yeah, yeah, know exactly where it is, because I don't think I've been there in a while to see that. Very cool. So,
Yeah, it was
hey,
completed, it was completed during COVID, so not too many people
yeah,
saw it.
there we go. Haven't been down there to see, you know. Somebody let me see, and I was showing the students at times a time lapse of the development of is that the Frank Gehry project?
The,
Yeah,
yeah,
Gary and somebody else too, right, that's involved with that.
Oh.
But yeah, there's
Okay.
a lot of cool stuff happening down there, so they'll get a snippet of it.
So
Oh,
I can just pull it up on Google Maps at least, and you can see the extent of the project. It's pretty expansive. This is Music Center Plaza up here. This is Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. This is Walt Disney Concert Hall and the new Gary building, just to orient yourself. Mocha and Colburn are just a block south as well, but this is the extent of Grand Park. So it spans several blocks. It's, I guess, the biggest park in downtown LA, and it really created an area that didn't exist before. You go there and everybody's walking their dog there because there's nowhere else to walk your dog in downtown. So it has become, you know, a really great, amazing space for gatherings and events, but also every day. So you should definitely see if you can take a walk there, and maybe grab lunch at Grand Central, which is just a few blocks down.
okay, yep, now I know where it is, I got it, wow, and it just, and it spills right from the plaza that's between the Dorothy Chandler and what's that other building?
That's
Center Theater Group?
Yeah, that's the Mark Taper Forum. They do plays in the round there.
which we've also remodeled.
Yeah,
We also work on.
very cool. That'll be another field trip for them. I'll just get them to the Intercontinental and have them see that. But yes, a lot of stuff downtown to see with that plaza. So that plaza's there, and it got completed around COVID time?
Actually, it was completed, this park was actually completed back in 2012. And so we actually, what completed around COVID was the Music Center Plaza, I believe. And Grand Park itself was actually completed about a decade ago. So
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, thanks for again sharing what you do and thought processes, imagery. It was great. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. I'll talk to you a little ahead of that, Sabina. But we know the time. So again, for those, actually, before I get out of the meeting, I will put in the chat for those that would like to go tour Rio's office, 3:30 next Friday. So that's 3:30 p.m. on 5/26/23. Putting in here a link to where you can put in your information. Everybody in the classroom here, you'll get it on Pronto and stuff. But for those that are online, I just put in the chat where you can go to the survey and put in your information so we know you'd like to RSVP for the event. Okay? So there we go.
All right, thank
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, everyone.
All
Night.
right, everybody take care. Bye, little Robin Jr. Bye-bye.
Did you put the link or are you emailing it?